So I have a ton of passions, but I don't always have the same passion all the time. My passion depends on my present mood. For example, when I'm upset or angry, I can't sit through it, so I usually go on a run or like a peaceful hike through the valleys, hills, and burns. So when you're angry, your mind is like always fixed on one thing, and that thing usually evolves around a circle, and you don't really get out of it. So going through hikes and runs rips it off. And when I do this, I usually run for a long distance, and that could be like 10 or more miles. So nearly 2 years ago, I experienced my first runner's high. When I started running from my house next to the theater in Fairfax, I started at an easy pace, but when I got to Manor School, my heart rate and my lungs were working. And by the time I got to White Hill, the uphill started and my legs started hurting. So still running at the same pace and no brakes, I felt like puking while I was crossing the Crown Bridge. But think about my anger and realizing I shouldn't have gotten so in the first place. I continued running and past Sandhill Valley, weaning the cows and stopping for a minute at the Lagunitas School. I ran back home, and on the way home I met bikers that passed me before. Still running, they slowed down so that we can have a good conversation. And that's around the time when I achieved my runner's high. It was pure power. I felt like a god in my legs, lungs, feet, hands, and stomach. It all forgotten their pain. But it didn't stop the connection until I got home, and when I did, I got really sore. I don't like getting sore or feeling exhausted when and after I'm running. I like to look back and see how far I've ran and look forward to strive to get there and look back to a greater distance. I have two people in my life who have inspired my passion for running. My dad and Forrest Gump. Though Forrest Gump's not a real person, and the things he's done wasn't real. Still an unreal, great story. When I was a child, I believed that Forrest Gump was real for a long time and when I found out, I was devastated. So I like the part when Forrest was running for years. Now I believe like that's kind of really unreal. So he runs for the same reason, and that's when the mood comes. Since my dad was stationed in the Middle East for 4 times, we didn't really connect too well because he was gone for so long. And it was always about war when he was at home. It's really tough on our family. But I always ran with him and I biked with him when he was running. And so he inspired my passion for running. And I used to ride my bike along his side for miles on end. I forgot when and where we went, but my family and I went to a camp where hundreds of families prepared for the marathon the next day. My dad, along with several of his Marines, have ran that marathon, and I guess that is a for a good example of my passion for traveling and running. There's also this mood you can't explain when you're on the road trip. My dad was in the military, and I believe, and I lived with him in one place for about 3 years, moving across the country many times. We traveled from California to Louisiana, to Michigan, and back to California in my life. We created a triangle. But when I was a kid, we would go visiting family in Idaho, Washington, and Southern California. These trips took a day or two, so we would be in the car for a while. I didn't really know why I liked these car trips, maybe because it was stress-free. You get to see new towns and cities, sleep in hotels, eat breakfast in the morning. And since you can't really do anything else, it's a great time to read. I like to read, and that's another one of my passions. To narrow it down, I like to read about history. But sometimes reading is slow and boring, so I like to watch documentaries. History is like old news that is important enough to record for its future. In history, I like to read about war conflicts, and right now I'm reading about Red Cloud, the Sioux warrior-in-chief, the only Indian in the history that defeated the U.S. Army at war. I like seeing how the natives saw us and how fast they adopted horses and modern weapons back in the day. During the American Civil War, the native tribes could have looked past their differences and enjoyed each other, making millions of braves fight against the U.S. Along with, if it wasn't for the Cinco de Mayo, the French would have supported the Confederates against the Union. So it's cool to see how things would turn out and how things could have been. These are the 3 main passions of mine that I picked out of many because they are what I enjoy the most and resemble a part of who I am.